Alright, folks, it is finally time we finish off the prospect divisions, or, well, outdated name, they're called the promotional divisions. Just the fact that I don't even know if promotionals would fit if I put that as the name. And we have a kind of bizarre lineup of drivers. The EU prospects are surprisingly actually smaller than the US and Asian ones, despite the fact that pretty much every track except for two that we use in the series are in Europe. The only two that aren't are Black Hat County and Laguna Seca. Technically 13 contestants, but literally 5 of them don't apply. And we're already qualified. So the bottom 8, besides, like, the bottom 8, so technically bottom 9, but disregard the Muscletone 71 name. Sebastian Scham, Antonio Santana, Jean Magnussen, Mariah Rose, Gavin Lansaw, Heidi Larson, Morris Zona, and Dominic DePrisco are the ones actually fighting for the top 3 in points. Or like the top 3 positions. Everyone else is either here exhibitionally or they're already guaranteed either way. But we'll get into that as the racing action goes on. Let's not waste too much more time and let's just get into the first race at the Nürburgring GP course. We're here on the starting grid for the first round of the Nürburgring, and well, one of the relevant drivers is on pole, and the rest aren't. The rest aren't even close. Zollner is the pole sitter. The next sort of qualifying driver is Sham, who starts 5th. The game still made sure to start me in last. Alright, I see how it is, of course, whatever. So it was a Corvette front row. I think we may as well start with explaining after we get through the first lap at least. Big, really uncontrolled moment there from Larson up ahead. So after we get through these like first few corners and the AI kind of like spread out, so when we begin sort of the shakedown of these new drivers. Which I think they have pretty much done that by now. You have to bear with me for this first race or two. I'm not really used to commentating over my own stuff anymore. Most of the reason why it's been so long since I've recorded anything for the challenge series, it's been a few days, to say the least. That mostly comes down to the fact that I've been so busy with helping with Tyler's recordings for the Americas Tours, like various series that are going on. Doing like the second half of his NASCAR season with him, and then shortly thereafter also doing F1 2021 came out, and he quickly began a series on that. As Morris Zolna is definitely getting, well, the Corvettes are getting away from everyone right now. So we'll start with the drivers that are not eligible to qualify. Well, there's obviously me. Obviously I can't qualify because I'm already here. and that is the same thing that applies to Gina. And then we have Barbara Page, who is exempt because she's already in the Challenge Series by way of the Twisted Invitationals. I mean, she's already a champion there when she beat, when she won the Last Man Standing contest at the end of the 6th episode, which was sort of like the first segment, as it were. How many segments there'll actually be, no one knows, but that's the first one, and she won it. The second one would end at episode 12. But yeah, Barbara is trying to use this championship to ease herself into the more modern racing equipment and out of the 50s luxury sedans that she uses in Wreckfest in the form of the Wingman / Cadillac Eldorado. And then there's Greta and Giovanni Torrini. These are Gina's parents, and they are technically already qualified by association. So now, we shall run down the list and detail each of the drivers that, well, other than me and Gina, in running order. The first will be Zolna himself. Make sure I'm not missing anything in the back here, but no. It all seems pretty, like, spread out right now. Not spread out, but, like, nothing's happening. It's all... It's a stalemate. There we go. That's sort of what I'm looking for. Morris Zolna was a very lucky soul indeed. After graduating college, he moved on to work as part of the marshal team at his local racetrack, Spa, becoming more and more obsessed with going fast, like the drivers he was in charge of keeping safe. He took his own BMW E46 out for a track day there, and found he was actually capable of driving fast. Perhaps he was more willing to risk it because he knew the safety crew? Whatever the case, he continued driving fast even as rain began pouring down. However, not even that deterred him. It seemed he'd managed to catch a break too when Gina and I were on site. Yeah, it turns out the track day was to coincide with the Challenge Series TC race happening the next morning, and it turned out his laps in the E46, which would more or less be a Tier A race car, were only about a second off of the laps that were being run in the previous Tier B events that had taken place there. However, he doesn't get the chance to put in the practice that many of the promotional contestants get due to still working. The privateer entry to end all privateer entries, he will have to tap into the same innate pace he demonstrated at that track day if he hopes to make much more progress towards the top. Also keeping in mind that, since he never raced in any other CS divisions prior to this, he doesn't really have any safety net if he doesn't qualify. And it's safe to say he's certainly doing everything he could possibly need to do to qualify. He's winning the race, and I mean, even if he were second, it wouldn't matter because he doesn't have to beat Barbara. He just has to beat, you know, the ones that aren't Barbara, Gina's parents, Gina, or me. Speaking of Gina's parents, they do have their own thing. Greta and Giovanni Torrini are Gina's parents, and though they're both almost 50, Gio has innate skills from a brief stint as a Ferrari F1 test driver back in the late 80s, and Greta has worked on cars her whole life, so she brings her own sort of expertise. Gina was not the one who arranged this. Nitori did. So when a 488 GT3 pulls up to the paddock today and outsteps her father, she was a bit blown away. Now, Gina gets to race against her parents for the first time in her life, and we'll just have to see if that becomes a blessing or curse. What Gina doesn't know is that regardless of where the two finish, they qualify for CS anyway by affiliation. They'd be treated the same way that I was, or the same way that I'm handled in these championships, or how Thrasher is in the NA Promotional. Oh, Barbara does have room. I wrote these last night and I already forgot how many there were. It says the last entrant in list, but that doesn't make any sense. Barbara Page has overbearing fame in her hometown, along with a desire for, quote, more high-octane pastimes. This has led her to enter the CS under a false last name to escape the spotlight for a while. She technically already qualifies, much like Gina's parents, due to her already being a driver and champion of the Twisted Invitationals. Who knew a singer-slash-performer-slash-doctor could be so good at wrecking cars? I certainly didn't. She is using the European promos as a chance to get acquainted with the more high-speed machinery she'll be using in the Assetto Corsa-based events. And just to finish off the page, even though it's not positional order, I'm going to read off the last one on this page. Dominic DiPrisco raced in the same exclusive club that Wayne Hansen once raced in many years ago. Dom tends to lean more toward the slower bunch though, preferring the momentum-based driving style required to make something like a Vauxhall VX220 go fast, rather than the sheer force behind something like an F50 or a Diablo. Dominic and Wayne had a big falling out after Wayne, in his effort to escape the pursuing police, spun Dom off the road into a tree. The result was a totaled car and a year in jail for Dominic. It's been many years, but Dominic is still heated, and he's tracked Wayne here. After racing the MR division in a VX220, he made it into the EU promos and is going all or nothing to get his chance for revenge. I think I can maybe get the last one in for the end of the race. Interesting that Gina is right behind her dad, but is actually kind of slower than him a little bit. It's a 201.46 versus a 201.2. Yeah. Her dad's actually going a little faster, but not by a lot. Though, Gina's less than half his age. So that's something else that should be kept in mind. Sebastian Sham was always struggling to get by early in his life. When he turned 16, he could barely afford a jalopy of a VW Bug. And this was back in 1998, so the Bug he acquired was going on 25 years old. Well, it turns out it was pretty well kept, as when he got to the seller to buy it, the car was almost in mint condition, minus some rust. So mint, in fact, that when he showed up to the paddock this morning ahead of the first race, he was driving it, another 22 years later. So it is a 1974 Volkswagen Beetle, and it is 2020 and it's still running. 2021. So it's been 46 years, almost 47, since that car rolled off the assembly line. So how do you get a chance to run in this series? Personal recommendation from one Colin Morris, who met Sham at a charity event held at a track he attended ahead of an RX race in Germany. Colin had once tried to pitch a rally division to myself and Gina, but it didn't go anywhere. But if it did happen, Colin claims now that Seb would have been one of his first recruits. So, is Seb's skill all that Colin makes it out to be? There's only one way to find out. He's not running too bad at the moment. He's running 5th in his BMW Z4. A very confusing choice. The Z4 isn't the weakest vehicle on hand, but it's not great. And also is not part of the VW group, which is another interesting one. So even though he owns a Beetle in real life, or not in real life, well, even though he owns a Beetle, apparently his loyalties lay more with a Z4, a BMW, even though he could very easily have had an Audi R8 or a Lamborghini Huracan, which would both have fallen under the VW group. So Morris Zona will take the opening round of the EU Promotionals. It is a 3-4-6 for the Torini family. And the final point goes to Jean Magnussen and the Porsche GT3 Cup Racer. So, I mean, yeah, the points are just the finishing order. There's not really much else to be said. Just head into the next race, the Barcelona MotoGP layout. Should be, well, it's a little closer to what GT3 runs. I don't know if they run the chicane normally. The F1 chicane. I don't know. Talking out of my behind here. Well, talk about rags to riches. Barbara starts in second once again. However, previous race's winner, Morris Zona, starts in dead last this time. Jean Magnussen is on the pole this time. The two McLarens in the race, myself and Gavin Landsaw, share the third row. And this time the Torini company, or Torini family, really didn't get the same luck they had before. And Barbara's just gonna absolutely screech past Magnussen before we get anywhere even close to T1. Like Greta didn't really have the greatest start of all time. She's been passed by 3 cars. They haven't even gotten to Sector 3 on the racetrack yet. Looks like a little bit argy-bargy up there between Sham and Landsaw. The married couple are still fighting it out for 11th place. Really not helping each other's cases here. And Greta is now, just like that, down to last place. Morris gets a bit wide through the expanded hairpin. And Barbara is just gone. First lap complete. What is returned to the reading. First, we'll see if this. I think Santana's got an opportunity here. Let's see if he can make the most of it. He'll be alongside as we hit the braking zone. He's keeping a splitter there, and through turn 3, Santana will make pretty much the first post lap 1 overtake of the championship. Sure took a lot, didn't it? I'm actually in 4th. I qualified 5th, so I only passed Sham to get here. Anyway, on to reading, and following his overtake, we may as well read about Santana first. Antonio Santana is one of those quiet but hard-working stories, similar to that of Marvin Manuel from the NA promotions. One of the shockingly low number of CS drivers who started their career in kart. which would set him on a path towards Formula racing, usually. This took a sudden turn, though, when he got a special chance to try racing TC for Mercedes, who claims they, quote, see potential, but not so much as a single-seater. Not really in a position to be picky here, he ran this test and got a chance to run on their WTCR team for a season. It was distant, but he believed he could still eventually reach F1 from here. But his TC season went poorly, and he was fired. However, someone took notice when he ran his best result of 5th. Nitori. Following his firing the next week, Nitori approached him, and now he's here, spitefully avoiding the Mercedes GT3 option and opting for this Audi R8 instead. Seems to be working. As I have now gotten ahead of John Magnussen. Ironically, next on my list is John Magnussen. He often gets confused for Jan Magnussen, and this sort of annoys him. They're not even from the same country. When Gina proposed he could race a Corvette, he just about screamed, and he instead went for the much slower 2016 Porsche. Yeah, this thing is by far the worst in the category. It's not technically a GT3 car, it's just a cup car based on the GT3 design. Porsche kind of cheaped out on us. They didn't actually give us access to a, they didn't really give us access to any of the slightly newer GT3 racing vehicles. They gave us like a rip-off of one, basically. Might as well have just given us a roof at that point. Come on. He got here with his 718 Cayman running in the German division. Yes, he is French. However, so long as you can make it to the races in Germany, it doesn't matter. It's not exclusive to nationality. He was defeated for this title by Heidi Larson, and even though both qualified for this championship, he still wants personal redemption here. And he's being overtaken by Gavin Landsaw. This is another shared storyline. Gavin Landsaw and Mariah Rose are a boyfriend and girlfriend couple who met through racing. Their opinions on cars do greatly differ, but this rarely complicates anything, so they tell us. Mariah prefers her Renault Megane. Megane? I think it's Megane. And Gavin would rather drive an Audi A3. Gavin has always been a McLaren fan in F1 though, so this influenced his choice in GT3 vehicle, picking the 650S over the R8. Also, the giant Union Jack blaster over the side was a boost to his very patriotic countryman sort of personality. He truly thinks that Britain is the greatest country in the world. He's like a Republican, but like for the UK. There are no French cars available, so Mariah went for Mercedes. Their only fear was that one qualified but the other doesn't, and many anticipated that the one who qualified would forego their spot to the next driver in points if their significant other failed to make it in. It's difficult enough for one driver to qualify, so I doubt both of them could do it, but I've been wrong before. And, man, Barbara is just simply putting on a clinic. Even though Santana is no longer behind Magnussen, because he's now under threat from me, he's not going super fast. I ran a second faster than him on the previous lap, and I kind of feel like it may only be a matter of time for him before I find my way past. There's another demonstration that Magnussen's GT3 Cup Porsche is laughably bad. And, I'm not sure which cost him more here. Porsche being stingy, or his obstinate refusal to drive a Corvette just because it reminds people, and himself, of Jan Magnussen. That's in reference to the real-life sports car driver Jan Magnussen. Also, I believe, relative of Kevin Magnussen, who was an F1 driver up until last year. Jan Magnussen is known mostly for being a very successful driver in the Corvette sports car racing program. So like IMSA, WEC, or like 24-hour racing. Possibly ALMS. I could probably look that up and fact check what Jan Magnussen did for his career, or where exactly he raced. But I know he definitely drove Corvettes. As Barbara has begun the final lap. Actually, she began it a long time ago. The final driver is Heidi Larson, who is currently under threat from Morris Zona for 11th place. Heidi Larson almost pretty much mirrored Gina's upbringing. She was born in Sweden, but moved to Kyoto as an exchange student during high school. There, she became infatuated with JDM culture and the like, and wouldn't stop until she owned a JDM tuner car of her own that she could drive on the local expressways. Her wish was granted when her parents got her an EK Civic for her Sweet 16. She raced said Civic later on when she entered the Challenge Series. After nearly totaling her Civic on the expressways late one night, and decided to go more professional to minimize the risks involved. Smarter than most for that. She ran the FF division one season, and then migrated back to Europe for the German division with a new 2015 Civic, and made her way here after beating a Porsche of all things for that title. Staying loyal to Japanese cars, she went for the R35, and she just wants to not end up last in points by the end of it. And, well, safe to say she's not really accomplishing that so far. As Barbara Page takes, assuming I didn't miscount the laps, which I might have done. If I didn't, and the race is over, that's a commanding victory. The race is over, yeah. I was confused because the lap time counter was still counting for Barbara, so I was like, oh, she has one more lap to do. No. She does not. So with that, Barbara is obviously the points leader. That's sort of what happens when you finish first and then second. A very comfortable lead, too. However, that doesn't matter because Barbara doesn't really have anything at stake here. So really the three that we're looking at here are Zolna, Santana, and Sham, who are second, third, and fourth, and they would be the ones qualifying at this moment. All drivers have managed to score at least, well, everyone scored in just 2 races, so it tells you how different, how shook up the finishing order was between both of those 2 races, minus, apparently, Barbara, who didn't get shaken up much of it all. So, now we head into Brands Hatch, which I believe is the first of the home circuit advantages we'll find, because actually, I made my own characters and I forgot what countries they came from. I literally listed this for a reason, and I just already forgot. I don't think Santana is, I don't know, I'm checking it now, we'll know in a few seconds. So yeah, Sebastian Sham is German, and yes, Antonio Santana is Spanish, so he just had his home track, and he did quite well, finished in second. Obviously, the entire Turini family are Italian from birth. Jean Magnussen is French. Gavin Lanson and Mariah Rose are both British. Morris Zolna is Belgian. Raymond Di Prisco. What? Oh yeah, I did change that name. Yeah, that's kind of awkward. Yeah, that was originally planned name. So the review kind of spoiled that one, yeah. Actually, the driver went through a couple of names. So no, Dominic DiPrisco is Italian. We haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, so we just got through Antonio Santana's home race. Next, we have the two British tracks, which are the home course for Gavin Lansaw and Mariah Rose. Maybe they can capitalize the same way Santana just did. Also, technically, the Nürburgring was Barbara's home track since she's German by way of, well, the town that she's lives in is based on that. Anyway, on to Brands Hatch. Before I confuse myself or you any more than I already have. Alright, we are here on the starting grid for Brands Hatch, and well, it's not really put either of the hometown drivers in a great place to capitalize. 7th and 9th for the pair of them. Sebastian Scham is the pole sitter, and Greta will get a chance to redeem herself after a really embarrassing run at Barcelona. Barbara's been taken down a peg, but not unworkable from there. She's only one spot behind her main points rival. Yeah, considering the top 3 in qualifiers points right now are Sham, Santana, and Zona, in that order, mind you. And they're about to be the top 3 in this race after that turn 1 from Greta. Man, Morris just about found himself backwards. Holy cow. Barbara also got around Greta early on. She's going to look to try and take that spot back as we head towards the back straightaway. Meanwhile, Morris looking for a move on Santana, but didn't find anything, and Barbara managed to defend her overtake. Re-overtake, as it were. And Zona is going to try it again on Santana. Santana about keeps his car on the racetrack. And I think Zona is going to take that spot away, heading back to turn 2. Barbara Page is going to seize the moment and follow her fellow Corvette driver right on through. Or at least that's what she thought she was going to do. Never mind, Santana could not fight it through 3. So as of now, Barbara is now on the podium positions for the 3rd consecutive race. I mean, you've only had 3 races, but you get the point. I was like so confused. I was like, wait, who changed spots back here? And Gina got around me. Presumably on the very start of the race. You know, I was about to say, like, it is absolutely crucial that Santana hangs on to 4th and doesn't lose the spot to Greta, but then I was like, actually it's not. As long as he's not losing points to anybody else that's, attempting to qualify in, then it doesn't really matter. So if he gets passed by any of the Torini family, or by me or Barbara, ultimately doesn't matter. However, if Mariah Rose got ahead of him, then there'd be a cause for concern. Not a huge concern because Mariah hasn't really had a great first 2 rounds. But that it certainly means a little bit more if she did it than with Greta. And Zona's all up in Sham's wheelhouse right now. He's gonna look for something into 1. I don't think he's gonna find much though. Sham manages to cover off the line, whatever, halfway through the turn, and Zona will just have to wait. But he can't wait too long because the other Corvette driver in this event is right up on his gearbox. Almost like right up his heel. And I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Man, Dom has not had the greatest few rounds. I don't think he scored in the last race, and I don't think he's gonna score in this one either. So who's going to be the first one to crack here, I guess. That's going to probably determine who wins the race. Who's going to be the first one to be like, alright, I have a chance now, and just takes it. Obviously, I know darn well someone's going to take initiative here. Just who's it going to be? Morris is going to try, but well, he better succeed, otherwise he may end up losing second if he's not careful. He will probably end up losing second. Barbara gets super slidey over that curb, but it may not even make a difference. Zona's gonna have the inside here. This is not a done deal yet. And Barbara has to let off to not miss the turn, which means that Zona will remain second despite his mistake and failed attempt at the overtake on the Z4 driver. And again, this is impressive for Sham considering, well, for one, he has almost no experience with 3, but there's a couple of drivers. Actually, pretty much everyone here is in that same boat. But also because the Z4 is not the optimal choice. Actually, the optimal choice is the Corvette, ironically, and he's managing to keep 2 of them behind him in the Z4. That may be subject to change. We'll see what happens as we go into turn 1 for the last time. Sham puts a wheel on the grass, manages to keep the car on the road there. Squeeze, just about. And just about keep the fenders separated. Zona also finds that same curb. And And I think maybe that'll confirm the pass. Does Sham still fancy a look? No, he's had enough. Perhaps Sham knows that he has no real need to risk it because he's not really staking his qualification hopes on finishing the race here. Or wait, what? He's not exactly staking his qualification on winning this race or not. That's more of a end game type concern that would happen. Well, Diprisco is going to almost make his way into a points position. Not quite, though. And following an exciting battle on the final lap, Morris Zona is going to take his second win in 3 races. However, Barbara Page, taking her 3rd podium in 3 races, is still going to be the points leader despite that. Mariah Rose didn't really blow anybody away with her result here at her home track. Though, technically, she has 2 of them, so maybe Silverstone will go better for her. It is a 7-point margin between Barbara and Morris. Another 6 more from there to reach 3rd in points, Sebastian Sham. Santana still relatively comfortable in that 3rd qualification spot, 6 over Gavin Lansaw, who is really the only nearby driver who's competing with him for that. But it's quite hard to really make deterministic, judgment there because we're only 3 races in. A win from Diprisco could easily put him ahead of Santana, and then suddenly everything I just said becomes totally irrelevant. Anyway, on to Silverstone for the final race of this episode. We're on the starting grid for Silverstone, and man, the UK not been super kind to its home drivers, as Gavin starts literally dead last, and Mariah is starting 5th, so she can maybe convert some decent points from there, but it's not going to be easy to do that. Other notable driver that's not in an ideal position off the start here, well, Sham and Zolna are together. Sort of a vaguely shared misery there between the two, but ultimately not terrible on the grid, and Santana isn't on pole anyway, so... And the ones that are starting in front of them aren't massive threats anyway because of the giant dissonance between cars' point standings right now. If that were Lansaw in, 2nd or 3rd and not, Jean Magnussen, then there'd be cause for concern. But as of now, not really a huge worry. Jean Magnussen is going to go for the lead, and if he won, he's going to get absolutely nothing. And Barbara is going to work her way around the outside and make her way into 3rd, maybe? No, she's not clear. Santana's still there. They're dead even, heading onto the Wellington Straight. And Barbara's gonna brute force her way around the outside again and make the pass stick. So for the 4th race in a row, Barbara is currently running in the top 3. And you can just see the massive cornering difference in that GT3 Cup racer. I mean, you can just tell that thing isn't optimized for this just by looking at the stance of the car. It's a bit taller than, say, the Corvette here is, and it's considerably thinner. So in other words, it's basically got the same aerodynamic properties as a baked bean. And Barbara's going to send it in the, towards the end of the S's and make up yet another spot. And she will attempt to chase down Giovanni for the win. She's got, well, essentially 4 laps to do it. I am 2 places from where to start. This is vaguely surprising. It may only be 1 by the end of this segment of corners because I am being overtaken by Sebastian Scham, but wow, I need a few more lanes there, my guy. Need a few more lanes there, my guy. And now I've been overtaken by Zolna due to his clumsiness. And Dominic may be able to follow him as well. Man, he almost gets into me, and Zolna is fighting off Sham, or other way around. Zolna is overtaking Sham, and he will make that pass stick for 6th place. Sham will attempt a desperate comeback at him. I don't know if this will come to pass, though. No. Greta looks for a move on Heidi Larson to get into a singular points-paying position. And Gavin's trying to pass Gina to run and not last, but he's now stuck on the outside, so I think he'll be waiting a moment for that. As Gina overtakes her mother. She will now try and chase down Heidi maybe and actually score a point. But Heidi has her own aspirations. She wants to pass the Lamborghini in front. Alright, Rose has actually been handling the Silverstone better than she did Branstad. She's up 3 spots, or what? She's up to 3rd, which is 2 spots from where she began the race. Barbara just ran a lap that's almost a second faster than that of Giovanni. However, she would have to start closing in a little faster than that. Zolna will attempt to take advantage of Santana being stuck behind Magnussen. He takes a bit of the grass, but not even that can deter him from trying to make this pass. Santana loose through turn 4 there, it looks like. Better exit to the Corvette driver. Huge run going towards the long left-hander. I believe this is left field. And you better hope that move's completed. It's not. Santana's still got a bumper or something. And with maximum force, manages to defend 5th place. Sham opportunistically. That's not Sham, that's myself. I'm going to be the opportunist and seize the position from Zolna following that overextension. And Santana's looking for any way to get Magnussen off his back, which is ironic terminology considering he's behind him, not the other way around. Through the S's, and again the terrible aerodynamic profile of that 223 Cup car is showing its ugly head once more. It doesn't have a ton of power either, so I'm just going to be able to breeze right by it going into this long right-hander. I think this is Stowe. I'm 90% sure this one is Stowe. Another 1.25 gained for Barbara. If she runs another lap like that, she will have a shot at the win on the last lap. But only if she manages to run an equally as good of a lap and Giovanni doesn't pick up the pace. Following some unknown series of events, I'm now running 5th, having overtaken Sham and Zona. The Prisco has also passed the Corvette. Actually, I know why, because I passed, obviously I passed Magnussen, who, despite starting on the front row, is in legitimate danger of scoring no points if he cannot clean up his driving style here. Actually, his driving style is not the problem, he's just stuck in a really bad car. We're passing had a Porsche affiliation, or Porsche affinity, and look where that's gotten him. Nowhere. It's kind of silly at that point. And Barbara, as you can see, is definitely in striking distance, heading towards Stowe. But she doesn't really have a huge run on the leader, so she will not really have a chance to do much of anything into Stowe. And Club is not a passing zone in this game, so Barbara will have one more lap to make it count, I guess. Antonio is still eluding me on my quest to gain more positions. Initial plan was to record all 8 races in 2 separate episodes and edit them both the following day, but considering how much I've yawned in this last race, that's not happening. I'll be finishing this recording and I'll probably be going to sleep. Barbara will have one more chance of making this overtake down the hangar straight and towards Stowe once again. Not the greatest run for her out of the S's though, so I do not think she'll have any dice. Will I have a shot down the set straightaway? Or will Zona have a shot down the straightaway? Barbara unable to do anything with the Ferrari driver, despite him clearly not being fully on pace, as Mariah Rose caught up exponentially in the final lap. But it doesn't matter, because all that matters is that Giovanni is the leader at the end of this lap, and he is going to win at Silverstone. Barbara takes her 4th consecutive podium finish. And Mariah Rose does capitalize on this race in her home country with her own podium. Not exactly the result Zona wanted, I imagine, considering he's, you know, trying to fight for So more or less security, I would probably say. It is, I believe that's a 16, yes, it's a 9. 16-point lead for Barbara over the rest of the pack. It is 1 point between 3rd, 4th, and 5th. However, Giovanni doesn't really count in this scenario as he's already qualified. It is still Zona, Sham, and Santana as the ones qualifying up to this point, as it's been mostly dominated by the drivers. Like, besides those three, it's mostly been dominated by the drivers that don't need to qualify. So it's been difficult for the likes of Mariah Rose or Dominic DiPrisco to make up ground. But next episode will be a good episode to be born in Italy, because we have 3 straight Italy races before finishing off at Spa. So DiPrisco should look to capitalize on one of these, and we'll also see what the Torini family has in store at all 3 of these Italian tracks. Even if the Torini family probably looks at Japan as just to be just as much their home as Maranello, Italy ever was.